Hello, what's up? What's happening? Welcome back to another episode of Level Up with Gal. I'm your host, no other than Gal Perino. So I'm so happy to have you back, and you already know this is where you can show up as your true authentic self and freaking learn how to level up in your life. And no matter where you are in your freaking life and what level you're at. So you already know the drill. In every episode, I give you little nuggets of what I'm going through, of how I healed through stuff, and how I'm still healing through some shit. And we are going to dive in today and talk about why it's so important to slow down and reflect in our life. This thought came up to me so strongly today when I was meditating, and I really, really feel called to share this with you today. When was the last time you stopped in your tracks, slow down a little bit? And I get it if you're like, "Gal, it's hard to slow down. We live in a world where it's go, 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 go." Trust and believe. I know I live in the same world as you. But when was the last time you looked, wrote on a piece of paper, or spent some time just thinking about it? Like, hey, where was I 6 months ago? Where was I a year ago? And what has happened in my life? Let's take it back even further. Let's go back 7 years, 10 years. What kind of person were you then? And what new skills have you learned now? Right? You might be thinking, like, God, well, I ain't got time to go back that far and do all of that. Like, are you out of your mind? But there's a reason for it. And let me share with you. When we slow down and we go back to see how far we come, how much we accomplished, and we give ourselves that credit, it is the best feeling in the world. Right. And it's going to remind you that you don't need all of that outside validation from other people and kudos and credit and praise. Give yourself the freaking praise. You deserve it. You accomplish what you accomplish because of you. No one did it for you, right? And so many times we live in this world where, like, I want my parents to be proud of me. I want my significant other, my siblings, my friends. I want them to be my cheerleaders on the sideline like it's a basketball game, like rooting us on the whole freaking way. But I'm here to tell you, the only person you need to root your ass on the whole freaking way every single day is you, your ass. So it's important to spend time with yourself to reflect and give yourself the acknowledgement of what you've been through, the shitty shit, the really, really good stuff, the in between, your high moments, your super low moments. And know that you made it. You made it through it. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to go through some more shitty stuff in the future. Okay. Remember, we are all spirits having a human experience. We are all spirit in a human having a human experience. There you go. That's what I was trying to say. So don't beat yourself up if you have low moments and you're angry and you're not always happy. I'm going to tell you something. The truth is, I'm not always in a happy, good mood. And a lot of people think that, but shitty stuff happens to me too. I choose to seek the good in it. I give myself a moment. You may not see it on blast all the time, every day, or even if you see me in person. It's because I give myself the moment and the space to process what I'm feeling. Like, for example, when I first got my car, I pull out of the dealership. Okay. This happened 2 years ago. And I'm driving on the freeway. I'm like, I love this car. It's my favorite color. So my favorite color is royal blue. My other favorite color is black. So you see me wear black a lot. And royal blue. Actually, I haven't worn royal blue in a long time. But anyways, so as I was driving on the freeway, a rock hits my windshield, right? And I was like, are you serious right now? I was so angry. Okay. So the first person I always call to, like, vent and who will give me space is my husband. I call him and I'm like, "Honey, you would not believe what just fucking happened." And he's like, "What?" I was like, "A rock just hit my windshield and I haven't even had this car for, like, not even an hour." And he's like, "Okay, it's okay." I'm like, "No, you don't understand. Like I just need this moment to vent real quick." And he's like, "Okay." So I did, but then I was like, you know what? Let me take a deep breath. It's okay. Shit happens, literally. And I didn't get hurt. The car's okay. And I was angry in the moment because, I mean, realistically, right? I'm still human where it's annoying. Like, how is it that I just left the dealership and then boom, right? And the wildest thing is, I knew as I was in that lane, there's construction. I heard my higher self in my head say, "Gal, get out of this lane. Like, get out of this lane." And I'm like, "Why? Like, I don't need to get out of this lane. Like, it's cruising." Well, that's because right after I was like, "No, why?" and questioning it, then a rock from a, like, three cars ahead from a pickup truck. Like it was one of those pickup trucks that had like the open top with like dirt or rocks or whatever, you know what I mean? And it flew out and then boom, right? And I was like, oh, no wonder I was supposed to get on this lane. I didn't listen. So I was like, this has happened to me many times. And you probably can relate to this story where like you hear a little voice in your head, like, hey, you should go do this or don't go do that. And then like we don't listen. Later, you're like, oh, that's why I was supposed to listen. Yeah. So I've had many of those lessons where I did not listen because I was like, I'm not listening. Like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. I've taken this route a million times. Okay. I know where I'm doing. I know where I'm going. And no one can tell me anything different. Well, yeah, I learned my lesson. So the moral of the story is things are going to happen out of our control, and give yourself the time and the space to acknowledge how you feel and like whether it pisses you off or not or whatever. And you still get to choose to be positive or not. Because after that happened, I was like, you know what? I'm going to see the bright side of things. Like, my car's okay. If I need to replace it, I will. It's not the end of the world. And shit happens. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? Be mad for like the rest of my life? It doesn't fix the little ding in the windshield. So instead I was like, you know what? Let me think of a solution. And if you know me personally, you've been listening to me a while, the way I function is I am like, people say, you're so like, optimistic, which I am, because I believe truly that there's always good out of any situation. And you can always see a positive because there's always a lesson that comes with everything that freaking happens in our lives. Okay. During our human experience here. So, and the other thing is like, I was like, yeah, I could be really pissed off, but it doesn't help me in any way. So, and I'm like, I come up with solutions. Like, that's just how my brain operates and how it works. I was literally thinking of saying the word work and operate, and it just like became blah. So in anything that I do, whether it's a conversation with my friends, my family, or someone I just met, to be honest, or like, when I was working at my day job for years and years and years, no matter what was going on and there was a problem, the way my brain operates is like solution quickly, right? And I come up with a million solutions. Like, I will not take a no. Like, there is a way. Like, I always believe when there is a will, there's a way. Like, you can figure out a way to make things better. Like, if something went wrong, it doesn't mean that you can like automatically fix it, right? It's like, it's not like a switch, just turn it on and off, but you can improve the process somehow, some way. There is a way out. As long as there's belief. Whatever we believe, like, it literally becomes true. So I am a huge believer, and there's always a way to figure out something. There's always a solution. There's always a way to do something better. Okay. And I know for a fact I used to annoy some of my coworkers when I work with them because they're like, God, there's no way. Like, will you stop saying that? You're so fucking positive. And I'm like, well, would you prefer to be negative? Because where is that going to take us? Nowhere. Would you prefer to sit here and be angry and have no options, no solution? And I'd be like, no, I go, exactly my point. So one of us got to be positive and come up with some solutions because we're in this together. Okay. So we're going to figure it out. And that was always me. And I'm still that way. So sharing that that story because anything in your life doesn't have to be a rock hitting your windshield like me. It could be anything, any situation that you encounter in your life. You get to choose how like you're going to reflect and act in that moment. And so it's super important to look back like, man, remember that moment, like even if you're talking to yourself, when I would like be so reactive, and I'm not like that anymore. Wow, that's really cool. And be like, you know what has changed since that moment? What, maybe you hired a coach to help you set goals and hold you accountable. Or maybe you found a mentor who downloaded their knowledge, all their knowledge and all their tools and skill sets into you. And that's why you see the world in a different perspective now, and you see things in a different way. Or maybe you spend a lot of time listening to a lot of podcasts like this, or read a lot of books like behind me. If you're watching the video, I've like really changed my perspective on reading. Like, I used to love reading as a kid, and then I hated it as I got older, and then I love it again now. And I make time to actually read. Okay. Not just like I used to buy a bunch of books. I'm gonna be honest. And my husband's be like, you're not even gonna read all those. And I'm like, yes, I am, like reverse psychology here, right? And I'm like, yes, I am. You just try to say that because you think I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna prove you wrong. And that's really how I live a lot of part of my life. It was like when someone said that I'm gonna do something, I was like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna prove a point. But that is not the point. The point is, he was right. I used to buy a bunch of books and I wouldn't even read through them. It was like, I was so interested in it, but I never made time. So I've changed that. And looking back too, it's like, what changed? I changed. The books didn't go anywhere. They didn't grow more pages and they didn't get more interesting than they were when I first bought them. What changed was me. I was like, wow, there's so much knowledge in this. And I get to spend some alone time with myself and to further develop. And, like these authors are so knowledgeable. And I learned over time, I really, really, really love learning new things and applying the new things. But if you don't make time to learn new things, how are you going to learn new things? And then you have to make time to be able to apply what you learn into your everyday freaking life, your habits, like actions, your goals that you want to hit. Anything that really you want to do, want to lose weight. If you don't make the time to like be mindful of eating a little bit better, or you don't make the time to move your body a little bit, nothing's going to change. So it's super important to make the time for you. And I talk about this all the freaking time. And I really stress this because I used to struggle so deeply because I made time for everybody else but me. But I really thought for so long, years and years ago, that if I kept helping others and doing good, that I was going to love myself more. And that is not true whatsoever. The more you do and the more good you put out in the world doesn't make you love yourself anymore. You have to spend time with yourself and start working on yourself so you can love yourself more. And then the way you feel about yourself, people see that because we're all a reflection of each other. And when someone is angry or something triggers them, they're projecting. Okay. So we won't go deep into that because it could be a whole nother episode, but spend time looking back. If it sounds too overwhelming to go back 10 years, okay, don't go back 10 years. Go back the last 6 months. Go back the last month at the minimum, like I'm a different person right now today than I was a month ago. I'm a different person today than I was definitely 10 years ago. So I was looking back and really the first thing that came to mind was my first podcast episode. Today I was meditating and that came to my mind. I was like, man, I haven't listened to episode in so long. And that was over 2 years ago. So I decided to listen to it today. And at first I was like, I'm so nervous. And I was cringing a little bit because I just remember it took me back to that girl. Like I was so nervous. I was so shy to share my story. And I'm like, what are people going to think of me? So my first episode was very vulnerable. And I think I recorded that bad boy like 3, 4 times. And listening to it, I was like, wow, I've changed so much. I'm such a different person. And I was not always confident like I am today and willing to put out content and put my face out there to share good in the freaking world and positive messages. And sometimes it's not positive because I share literally my life and what I'm going through. And when I listened to that episode, I was like, I am so proud of myself because I have changed so much over the 2 years since I started that. And I remember being like, this is one of my big goals. I want to start this podcast, show to help people, to give them a different way to get, free knowledge. And listening back, I was like, wow, that's where my journey started, and so much has changed since then. And that's just going back to the beginning of my podcast. If I went back even further when I started my personal development journey, that's even more different. I was like, holy crap. So it's super important to reflect back in your life and give yourself that credit of how much you change and listen to how much you've changed, how much how I show up today is so different than how I showed up 2 years ago. And listening to that first episode, I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I was like, wow, I could hear the pain in her voice and the nervousness and, the courage and the strength. I'm getting emotional talking about that. And then she still did it. Like, I say she, obviously I'm talking about myself. Like I still did it. I still put it out there because I remember the one thought in my mind was like, this episode can help somebody. It can help save somebody's freaking life. And if they're going through something similar, numbing themselves away and turning to alcohol and drugs and, and weed and whatever else to numb, and maybe they don't even realize they're numbing themselves away like me, this can help them. This can help them get on the right path. Maybe this 9 minutes, or the 9-minute episode is what they need that can help change their life. And it's not even about knowing who listened to it or who I helped. It's like just my intention is to put it out there, to share it, to help somebody. And if it helps them and I never meet them, I never know, it's totally okay with me. The whole point of doing it is that it crosses the right people, finds the right people, and comes along their path, and it can help them start their healing journey. So I got a little emotional because it took me back. It really took me back to where I was 2 years ago and still being a tough cookie. And that comes stems really from my childhood. You've been following my story, my parents got divorced when I was young. And when my dad left, it broke me, but I didn't let it break me. And in that moment, I was like, I'm gonna keep going forward no matter what. And no one can tell me any different. And I really have held that really, really strong from like 7 to now. I'm 34 years old now. So, but also was a lot of healing I had to go through that journey of going back to where the trauma started. And which is why it's so important to reflect back, like where you were at one time and how you're not like that anymore. You know what I mean? Or like how some coworkers used to like piss the fuck out of me. I'm not even kidding. Like as soon as they said good morning and I would be like half asleep. Cause I used to work I used to go to school full time. I worked full time and I worked part time. Like looking back, I barely got any sleep. And no wonder, the guy I was dating, no wonder he was so mad because I really didn't have any time for him. But at the same time, I'm glad I did what I wanted to do. But on that note, it's like I remember our coworkers used to talk to me and I'll be like so annoyed. Like, I'm fucking tired. Like, don't you say good morning to me. And like then fast forward, I will be that person. Like, hey, good morning, what's up? Was like, how was your weekend? And I'm like, and I can feel people's energy so deeply, like, shut up. Like, you're so annoying. I'm so tired. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, they feel like how I used to feel, and starting to be able to learn when someone's like actually for you, not for you. And tune into a previous episode if you're struggling with that, how to know who's for you and who's not for you. I used to not know. I used to think that, hey, I'm for everybody, everyone's for me. That's not true. So if anything out of this episode and tuning in to listening to this, number one, give yourself big kudos for tuning in to better yourself and to continue your personal development journey and to continue healing yourself. No one can heal you but you. People can help inspire you, give you tools, help you see your blind spots, right? That's stuff I love to do. But I can't personally come into your life and heal you. I can't force you to reflect back on your life either, but I can inspire you to spend some time with yourself to reflect back and give yourself the kudos. And if journaling is your thing, I highly recommend picking up your journal, reflect like the last 30 days, last week, last 6 months, and write down like where you were at then and how much you've accomplished in between. What lessons have you learned? And then after all of that, I want you to write down like, I'm a badass and I'm proud of myself because I'm still kicking today and I'm going to keep showing up no matter what the universe and life people throws my freaking way. And that's literally how I see it, right? There's so many lessons that we go through. And as positive I am and upbeat as I am every day, I'm going to keep it real. I am going through my own transformation right now. It's like, my next level, which is exactly why I call this podcast Level Up. I'm always working on leveling up myself and I am leveling up right now and I'm doing shit that makes me freaking nervous. Okay. And I'm doing things out of my comfort zone, but it's a choice. Like you get to choose as well. And as I go through my journey, I will share more and more to help inspire you to continue to share your journey. Even if you're only sharing it with yourself, you don't have to share it with the whole world or put it on social media. Okay. Maybe your way of sharing is expressing it in journaling, or you get inspired to do your own podcast show. Anyone can freaking do it. You can do it too. I'm not any better than you or any smarter than you. We're all on this journey together. Yes, do some of us have more knowledge than others in certain things? Yeah, absolutely. But that's the cool thing, right? Instead of seeing it as a disadvantage, you see it as an advantage. Because then when you're like, hey, I want to start a podcast show. Oh, I mean, I'll reach out to Gal, you know what I mean? Or hey, I think I want to become a coach and a mentor. I can reach out to Gal or to whoever out in your world, your space that can help you. So, quick example. Someone I met through networking through locally, and he reached out to me because him and his friend wanted to start a podcast to just get some tips and like techniques and stuff. So I'm like, sure, why not? Right. So that's a prime example of being able to help somebody, and like not having the knowledge is okay. You can find people if you don't know people in your circle I mean, social media is incredible now, or just Google somebody and someone can help you. Let them share the knowledge. And you have knowledge that I don't know, right? So own that and reflect back on your journey and give yourself the pat on the back and a hug and kudos because you're fucking amazing. So don't let anyone tell you any different. Okay. So make sure you freaking subscribe to my show if you haven't already. Leave a review. I hope you found this episode super helpful. And if anything, reflect back on your life and how far have you come, even a week ago, and give yourself so much credit and look at how much you freaking change in your journey. Even if you have a podcast show too, and you want to go back to listen to your first one and you're cringing a little bit, like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous right now to listen to this. Like I already knew, like I'm gonna sound like a different person because I am a different person. But that's also where growth comes in, right? Like where you reflect back on like, hey, how did I do in that speech? Watch the recording, or how did I do on the presentation, right? Or ask people for feedback, like how did I do so I can improve? I listen to all my podcast episodes with my guests to see how I can improve in the next episode. And it's not even like you're being so hard on yourself. Why would you do that? No, it's about continue to level up and improve because we can always freaking improve in everything that we do. Okay. So if you're struggling reflecting back, send me a message, let me know where you're at. You can send me a message on Instagram or any of the other platforms. I'll have the same username. So gal_Perino, GAO_PERAINO, or email me at lifecoach@galperino.com. I would love to hear how your reflection's going, or if you're struggling, or if you're interested in working with me directly and diving deep and learning more and getting the brain dump of all the knowledge I have in my head from all the freaking 6+ different mentors I've had in my life, then for sure, let's do it. Like I'm huge in helping people. Obviously, you know this, you're here. So if you're interested, you let me know. I'm here to help as many people as possible. That is my mission, to help you love yourself and show up for yourself. So thank you so much for tuning in. I love every single one of you and I appreciate you so freaking much. Remember, to continue to shine bright and do you and be you and use your superpower, which is your freaking voice. Open up that throat chakra and share your thoughts, your feelings, but still be kind, okay? So you get to choose every single day to be kind or not, and choose to be kind because you may be that one person that helps somebody live one more day, one more hour. So keep showing up and I'll catch you next time.